In this video, I'm going to show you how to put together the morning rope. So let's go ahead and begin by grabbing these right here. These are the carriages, and they should be printed so that they could move like this along those hinges. And you have one that goes on each side. So first what I'm going to do is take the PTFE, those little nylon tubes that it comes with. There's 4, 1, 2, and then 3, 4 in the other one. And go ahead and push them right into there from the side. They should fit just fine. And in this video, I've already inserted them, and it's nearly impossible to get them out, so I can't really show you how that goes. If you cannot push them in there, it is a tight fit. Go ahead and put them in as much as you can and take them onto some sort of flat surface and then just push down really hard. And it will click in over there, over here. And one more time on this side. So go ahead and begin by putting those in. Next, grab 2 hex screws like these and put them right through here. That's just going to be the clamping, which we'll come back to when you actually get these hung up. So go ahead and put that one through there and this one through there. And then go ahead, grab these right here and screw those down. You don't have to tighten them up too much or anything. They're just kind of temporarily there. Okay, and go ahead and grab all 3 of the large plastic screws. They've got the very aggressive thread on them. These are the large ones. And then you also have a few of these smaller ones. You can see this is much smaller than these. These are going to be for the PCBs, so don't get those, but grab 3 of these and place 2 of them, one here, and then on this one, place it on either side. And we're just going to get back to those later. Don't screw those all the way in, just kind of enough just to hold them in place, just like that. Just right there. And here and here. So now we should have all of these screw here, those pieces in there, this screw, and this nut, and same here on this side, here, and then the Teflon tubes in there. So we're done with those. Let's go ahead, set them aside. Next, we're going to work on the pulleys. So let's go ahead and grab both of these pieces right over here and set those aside. Let's go ahead and grab all 3 of these bearings right here. 1, 2, and 3. We'll then need 2 square nuts. So 2 of these and 3 square nuts. And then probably the most difficult part here to figure out will be to get the actual screws that go through here, because they're 2 different sizes. As you can see, they're 2 different size screws. So one screw is going to have a head like this, and then one's going to have a head like that. And these right over here there's quite a few of these for different parts. And the shorter one's going to go through the smaller one, and the longer one's going to go through to the longer one. So let's go ahead, do that. And then one more actually, before I forget. Grab one of these. It's an M3 washer. So let's go ahead and start with the small one. Pretty simple. You just take this bearing, you put it through here, put a square nut inside there, and then run the smaller screw through there. And don't tighten it too much, otherwise this won't be able to spin really freely. So tighten it as much as you can, and then if you do too much where it doesn't spin freely, go ahead and untighten it. See, I got it too much now, so it's a little too tight, and now it goes really easily. This one, we're gonna put 2 of these and the M3 right in between there, so we can put this kind of like that, and this on top, like so. And sometimes it might be easier just to get that started. Put this through there. Might need to loosen it up just a bit. Get them free, spin freely. So that's that. Now both of these pulleys are done, and let's go ahead and set them aside. Next, let's work on the little arms that clamp. So go ahead and grab both of these right here, and go ahead and get 2 M3 screws to begin with. So I already have them set in here, but we need to put an M3 through there and make it go through there. But since I've already set mine, you can see all you have to do is, it might be a tight fit, but you kind of go push it in like this, and then grab a tool and then just push it all the way through so that it does sit over here. So go ahead and do that on both of them. And there's another one right over there. Make sure you get that through there. Okay, next grab 2 more M3s and put them into this little slot right here. Just like that. Let's see, right over here. Then grab 2 of these bearings right here, and we're just going to drop them in just like that. And then finally grab 2 more flathead M3s like this, and we're going to drive them right through there. Once again, tighten it, but not too tight. Back it off a little bit so that can spin freely. And on this side, we're going to do the same. So again, drive it as much as you can and back it off if it's a little too tight, but you should be able to spin freely just fine. So that's set up, and we're going to head take both of these and set them aside for now. Next, go ahead and grab the PCB and grab this piece right here, and then grab 4 of these small screws right here. We're going to go ahead and put the PCB on top. Let's align it. There's only one way that it could go. You can see that's the wrong way, and this is the right way right here. You can see that all 4 of those holes align with the case holes. And go ahead and get those put in and screw those down. It's best to not tighten it too much. Just tighten it just barely enough on all 4 of them, and then once all 4 screws are in, then go ahead and tighten them all the way down. Otherwise, it might not stay level. There we go, and once again, it's not that tight, but you can see I'll go ahead and then tighten all of them up. No need to over tighten anything, just enough to make sure everything is seated correctly. All right, so there we go there, and let's go ahead and set this aside. Next, go ahead and grab the motor right here and make sure that your motor, this isn't too long. These right here are probably longer than they should be. So you'll kind of have a feel once we put this together for how long you should have it, and then you'll need to also strip the ends enough to get into the PCB. So we're gonna go ahead and grab the motor, and then we're gonna grab 2 of these longer hex screws, 2 of these really short, 2 of these really short M3 screws, and let's go ahead and grab this right here, set that over here, and then finally this piece over here. So go ahead and take this and take these M3 hex screws and push them all the way through like this. Make sure that you line them up. And one thing you can do, see how they're kind of sticking up right there. You can just go ahead and press down really hard on something really flat, and then that'll make sure that's super flat. It's right there, nice and flat. If when you print, if you have some holes still, if you'll have some filament left over the holes, you can take something like a screwdriver and push it all the way through and clean those out. But once you push these through, it needs to look just like this. And this needs to be completely flat right over there. All right, so next, let's take the motor, and you can put it in this direction, put the wires facing down, and I have it designed so even if you have a motor with this thing, it'll fit fine. So again, these 2 are buttons right here. These are the top. This is the power. This is the bottom. So put this towards the bottom, and you can kind of just drop it in there. Maybe kind of difficult to get it. There we go. And you can see that's flat all the way there. And this can be sticking out. So go ahead and be sure to support this with your hand so it doesn't fall back. Then next, take this piece right here that we just did, and you can put it right on top. And what we're gonna do is then drive the 2 small screws. So mine doesn't really need to be held that well. The 2 small screws through those holes right there. So again, I'm gonna take this and push these down. Get those nice and tight. So now you can see everything's being held together. So next, let's go ahead and drop this pulley, and we're gonna have to tighten it up using this screw, and the way to access this screw is going to be through here. So that's what this hole is for. So we need to make sure that the flat part right here on the motor shaft is lined up right here with the bottom. And when we put this thing on, the position in the up and down position doesn't really matter because we're going to adjust that in a little bit anyways. So you can put it, and I'd put it right about here. And you're gonna have to go ahead and face the bottom there. Easiest thing to do is then put your, there we go, put your Allen wrench through that hole. As you can see, right there, move it down a little bit and tighten that up. So there we go. Now the screw is against the flat piece right over there. So next, grab those little, these little arms that we made, and we're gonna slide the arms on. Excuse me, this bearing right here has to be at the top, and the bearing needs to be pretty much the same level with the gear teeth right there. So we're gonna go ahead and slide that right on there. And on this side, we'll do the same thing. So now you can see that the bearing is at the top, there, and it's gonna pretty much clamp down onto the gear teeth right up here. And then go ahead and grab this right here, and you can put it on top right there. There's 2 holes right here that are made for that right there. So if those 2 screws are kind of not aligned, you might have to kind of play around with it and push that on. right over here. And then we're gonna go ahead and grab these two very, very long M3 flathead screws, and we're gonna drive them all the way down. What this is gonna do is these are actually gonna go through the motor. So you might remember when we put the little screws down there, they connected to the motor, but they only connected to the two bottom screws. These now will go all the way and connect to the very top of the motor. So towards the end, when you're driving them in, it might get kind of a little bit difficult. And don't worry, just kind of power through there. Get that one nice and tight, and this one as well. And right there's a little bit of resistance. We're just gonna wanna tighten it all the way up because it is going all the way through the motor now. There we go. Now you can see these move, and you can see how they clamp down. Next, let's go ahead and adjust that. So it might be kind of hard to see, but notice how the teeth and that little bearing over there are not lined up really perfectly, and you want them to be lined up perfectly. So we're going to go ahead and push this all the way through, insert it in through that hole. Whoops. So I just undid it a little bit, and then I'm going to move it up just a tad bit. You can see more better from the top there, and tighten that up. This might be kind of difficult to figure out where it should be exactly. It'll be easier once the string is. If it's not lining up when the string is on it, then you can go ahead and position this so that you can move it in the perfect direction there. And then finally, let's go ahead and grab this really long button head M3 screw, and we'll just go push it all the way through. So this screw holds these two clamps together, and you notice there's one here on this side and one that side, and that's because it allows you to put it either through, let's say if you mount it on the wall, this whole thing, you mount it on the wall from this side, then you'll need to put it through this top hole. But if you mount it from this side, you'll need to put it through the bottom hole. So be sure to put the screw not in where the nut is on the opposite end. So I would not want to put it through here because it's not going to have anything clamp on this side. So I want to put it through this hole down here so that it goes all the way through and then clamps on the opposite end. So since I'm probably going to mount it this way, I'm going to go ahead and push it through this top hole here. And let's go ahead and just clamp that down just so we don't lose this. So we don't lose this screw. And I can also kind of show you how this works. So you notice that as soon as I tighten that up, now these are clamped, and that string that's going in there is clamped really, really tight. And if it's too tight, you're gonna wanna loosen this up just a little bit so that the string doesn't kind of impede that motor right there. So now this entire section here is done. Let's go ahead and attach the PCB. Next, let's go ahead and grab the PCB that we've already mounted to this plastic piece right here. And all we need to do is connect these motor wires to this section right here, A1, A2, B2, B1. And the way we're gonna do this is gonna be black, green, red, and blue. And if for some reason you get it the other way, that's okay, we can change that in the code. But for now, let's go ahead and do black, green, red, and blue. So take your, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Go ahead and go like this, unscrew, make sure that these are opened up right there. And we're just gonna go ahead and insert those all the way in. Make sure that the stripped end, you've got it a little bit longer. If it's too short, there's a risk that it's gonna fall out. So I've got maybe, it's hard to tell, maybe 4 millimeters or so. You don't want it too short. And what I like to do is I like to kind of braid them a little bit like that to get them to be as straight as possible. And then go ahead and insert there. Hold it down. So we're gonna do black, green, red, ahead and blue. All right, let's go ahead and get these nice and tight. Don't tighten too crazy, but get them nice and tight so they don't fall out, because they might do that. All right, so now you can see this is where the power goes, and these are where the buttons are. So what we'll do is we want to turn this. This might be a little tricky to kind of do. This is what I like to do. I kind of like to twist it around. So if your wires are a little too long, it's just a little easier to see how they kind of get they're easier to manage right there. All right, next, when you insert this, go the power side down, and you'll notice, see in the plastic, there's this little groove in the plastic there, and then on in that housing, there's a little piece that kind of sticks out, and that piece sticks out. It's going to go inside the groove. So we're going to angle it like this, back like this, and we're going to go ahead and push it from the bottom. Oops. Like that, kind of work its way, kind of work our way towards the top there. Just be really gentle in this little area. Let me zoom out a little bit. So just remember, it kind of snaps in from the bottom, but be gentle. There we go. And if we push it a little harder there we go. So now it is snapped in. So there's a little groove in the plastic on the top and the bottom, and it snaps in place in the top and the bottom. And you should be able to press the button. You can hear that click and the click there. And down here, make sure that these are all lined up. You can see the power is there. These need to be fixed this is actually a new version. So it's by the time you print this out, this will be in the correct place. But it still have access to go press those if I need to. And that's that. Finally, let's go ahead and grab this. This is the wall mount. This is where you're gonna, if you want, you can either use adhesive, or you can use anchors and drive screws, wood screws through here. And the way it works is on this side, we're gonna put the shortest hex that we have. It's this M3. Very small. What you might need to do is there's going to be some stringing of the print there. Go ahead, take something sharp like a screwdriver and just push it all the way through to break that up. And we're going to go ahead and push that so the line's there. And then the piece that's going to go on top is this one right here. So if you want, just keep from losing anything, what you can do is grab the motor, kind of figure out what direction you're going to put it in, and then you can place this into here like this, and then push it up. Now you see how I did that. Then you'll grab this right here, and this kind of just clamps it down there. And finally, depending on if yours came with one of these wing nuts or one of these serrated nuts, you can go ahead and put that on. So we're just going to put that on right there. So now this is what it would look like attached to the wall if it had those two screws, or it'd use this adhesive, just like that. So that's that.